Greetings to one and all present here. I, Vanshika Mithani, the President of the Public Speaking and Debating Society of HR College, would like to take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to all of you present here on behalf of the entire team of PSDS HR. Welcome to the webinar on Public Speaking 101, the language of leadership, covering an array of topics such as confidence building, overcoming stage fright, debating and MUNning, and improving one's communication skills. By none other than the highly revered and alumni, Mr. Rishabh Shah. The audience here today comprises of individuals most passionate about debating and MUNning from PSDS, and Mr. Rishabh Shah is not only a source of inspiration for us, but also probably the one person responsible for introducing most of us to the world of MUNning and public speaking through MUN. I know it was because of him that I was able to join the world of MUNning in 6th standard, and Mr. Rishabh Shah has taken and given students the opportunity to go speak at the United Nations headquarters. It is an absolute honor to have you on board, sir. Thank you so much. And to all the others who tuned in, thank you for joining us on board. We are delighted to host you. We would now like to request everyone to rise for the national anthem.
अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I would now take this opportunity to request the backbone of HR College, our go-to person and an unending source of inspiration for us, our principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani ma'am, to address the students.
Thank you, dear, and a warm good afternoon to all my dear students, my professor, Professor Geeta Sahu, and my brand ambassadors. I always call my students as brand ambassadors, the core committee of Public Speaking and Debating Society, an event and a responsibility on their shoulders where they train students to speak, not just speak, but speak in public, debate into different auditoriums, debate into different teams where you get confidence and explore a leader in you that, yes, the one thing that students are scared of is how should I speak? When I joined my profession as a teacher, yes, I was also scared. But with regular, constant lectures that I spoke to students, I got confidence of standing in class, and today I can speak to audience. But the fear that students have when they enter into colleges is how do I speak to people? How do I express myself? How do I put my point across? An idea that came across in our colleges and Public Speaking and Debating Society was formed under the able banner and guideship or leadership of Dr. Geeta Sahu. A responsibility that they took on their heads, and they said that we will train our own selves to speak in public. And this is where the motto of Public Speaking and Debating Society came in. And what a wonderful opportunity that they have got today, that they have got our own student, alumni, Rishabh. And I call him my child because he's always been in touch. Students do complete their colleges and not many come back, but Rishabh is one of them who has always been with us, come back to us. And what a great personality that I have observed his videos. He keeps sending it to me. A speaker we are proud of. And today he is speaking to our students of Public Speaking and Debating Society. An event that they have organized today on to 26th of September. I'm sure you all are not sleeping. This is an afternoon hour. You all have finished your lunch. But a great respect for my students of Public Speaking and Debating Society, where they are where they have taken responsibility of calling stalwarts of my own college, the alumni, and are speaking to the audience. So a hearty congratulations to my PSDS team. Rishabh, as you said, that we have gone into a new journey. HRKC and BTTC have gone into a new beginning of HSNC University, where 3 colleges have come in together. HRKC and BTTC and have been recognized as a degree granting university, a public university where we were all, I'm not saying we were bad with Mumbai University. They have also given us a very good name. And HRKC has created its history by being one of the best colleges. Today, we are getting an opportunity to create platforms for the Mumbai University, apart from Mumbai University, which we will give to our students. And this is where alumni like you will come in and help us to tell us and train our students in not just speaking, but giving us an opportunity that they work for you, they connect with you, they network with you, and create history with HR and KC College. So Rishabh, a hearty welcome to you on behalf of HR College, HSNC University, and PSDS, and looking forward to your talk. And once again, grand salute to my PSDS students who are taking up the responsibility of one great thing, which is make people speak. Hearty congratulations. Over to you, dear.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was awe-inspiring to say the least, and we couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Rishabh, sir. It is, like ma'am said, an absolute honor to have you on board. I would like to request our teacher in charge, Ms. Geeta Sahu, to kindly introduce the speaker.
A warm welcome to Mr. Rishabh Shah, and it's a pleasure to have an alumni with us. In fact, ever since Pooja ma'am has taken up as the principal of HR College, this is one area in which she is trying to develop a very strong alumni base, and we are sure we can take it forward from here and use your expertise in other areas as well. So just to formally introduce Mr. Shah, he is the founder and president of the Indian International Model United Nations, or popularly called IIMUN. Within a few years, IIMUN has become the world's largest official social network, and the organization has impacted 10 million youngsters across 60 cities, 22 countries, and 7,500 schools. He is an author, a social entrepreneur, philanthropist, motivational speaker, and has been invited as a guest lecturer at prestigious educational institutes, including IITs and IIMs. He has also spoken at the United Nations. Mr. Shah completed his schooling from Greenlawns High School and graduated from our own HR College of Commerce and Economics. He holds a degree in speech, drama, and theatre from the prestigious Trinity College, London. He formerly represented India in chess and has played with Vishwanathan Anand. Mr. Shah uses the MUN conferences to teach students about local, national, and international issues about the Indian culture, values, and traditions. His mission is to help India get a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council, for which he has conducted various lectures and peace marches with prominent luminaries. A noble soul, Mr. Shah also runs a charitable trust by the name of Taking India Forward Foundation. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Shah, and the platform is all yours, and our participants are eagerly waiting to hear you. So over to you, Mr. Shah.
Great. Firstly, thank you for that. Thank you for that very, very nice introduction, which was very long. So I hope everyone's had a good lunch, and probably they just got 10 minutes of sleep whilst that long, very long introduction was going on. But I must appreciate, I first must appreciate and thank both Dr. Pooja Ramchandani and also Geeta Sahuji for being so kind and gracious to introduce me. Then, of course, to thank Vanshika. I didn't know it was such a formal program. I would have been better dressed and would have made my hair at least so that I don't look so funny. But I thought it was just a simple interaction with young people, but it's a full-fledged program. Just like everything with HR is, it's always grand and it's always over the top, which is always a positive thing. So it's very nice to be addressing all of you. I was questioning myself when Vanshika invited me, and between this, whenever this conversation gets too boring, feel free to interrupt. Vanshika, I'm aware that this is a webinar and this is not a Zoom meeting. Great. So just in case you guys get really, so I can't see the chat section. Do we have a chat section? We have a chat section, right? So, so just in case you guys have any questions or just are tired and fed up and are like, Rishabh, that's it, I'll pause and I'll stop out there. I'm sorry, I'm going to use a few slangs. I didn't know the principal was going to be there. I would have made sure that I'd written a proper speech and then addressed all of you. But it's so nice to be back. And when Vanshika wrote,
you don't need a speech. You don't need a speech. You're such a genuine and a natural speaker. So
that's very, very, very kind of you. I wish my father also echoed that. Since I've taken over the family business of iron and steel, he blames me for demotivating the employees in the company. I told him it's COVID. He told me it was you took over in 2017, and then we agreed to disagree. But the idea essentially is
you take HR students, they'll take your industry to a millennial industry. I'm telling you, you take my HR students.
No, 100%. We'll come back for recruitment for the company. It's only that it's an iron and steel company. So for all the HR students, all the South Bombay boys and girls, I remember myself cribbing that, it's raining so heavily and I could not cross from Malabar Hill to Nariman Point. But I hope that has changed. I hope we don't have we don't have people like me, and we have more hardworking people and not hardly working people at HR. But without any further ado, Vanshika, thank you for calling me. And I don't know why you called me, given the fact that you've already heard me speak since grade 6. So that's so a person can make a mistake once, but the same person making a mistake so many times makes me question as to why you did it. That said,
Rishabh, can I just interrupt you for a minute?
Sure, please.
I am really not sure about Pooja ma'am's schedule because I know she has meetings back to back. Can we just take a photo of the core along with you and Pooja ma'am? Because
of course,
yeah, as the teacher in charge, it just comes to my mind that in the magazine we would require a photo like this. Sorry. But if we could just all of us switch on our videos and
you should have put my picture in the magazine. You want more people to come in to college. If you put my picture in the magazine, it'll become a questionable thing. But then again, I'm happy to smile and
are an inspiration. So if Pooja ma'am, if we could all put on our videos and take a photo before Mr. Shah can start.
Yes, ma'am. So the technical team has been informed. The 3 people in charge of the photos kindly take this forward and notify us once we're done. Yes, I think we're good to go. Thank you so much.
All right, super. So I will try to keep this as light and engaging as possible. And just to start off with something that I'm really passionate about, which is public speaking. I think public speaking is something that is very, very important for any vocation or any profession. I'll try to make this less of a sermon and a little more of something that you can engage in with. So I don't know how many of you actually suffer from stage fright. And is there a way that we can check the chat section, because somehow I can't see the chat section. I'm digitally handicapped, so give me a second whilst I try to. Okay, for some reason I'm not able to, Vanshika, see the chat section.
So we've made you host, and also people have been raising their hands to communicate that they are suffering from stage fear.
Okay, lovely. Firstly, I'm just thrilled that there is so much of attendance. I was jokingly telling your principal, I don't know whether she's here anymore, but I was jokingly telling her, saying that there are only two reasons as to why there is so much of attendance. One could possibly be the fact that you are being given attendance for this, and the second is that you are being given double attendance for this, because there is no other reason why you should be here. And I'm
no, Rishabh, not true. I think this new normal of pandemic has made our students to come online and learn. And our students have taken this as an opportunity rather than sitting and crying at home, oh my God, lockdown, ab kya karna hai? HR students have kept HR alive.
No, it is very true. I think the heartbeat of HR.
No attendance promised. So no attendance promised for this. No attendance. I promise you.
No, now I'm feeling bad that they're not getting attendance. But then again, the idea is that HR students are the heartbeat of HR college. And I remember my time at HR. So before elucidating on public speaking, just really quickly, because it's quite nostalgic. When I studied at HR, at that juncture, the Jay's wasn't a restaurant. The Jay's opposite college wasn't a restaurant. Jay's was more like a feeling when the girl I liked in class was talking to the guy whom I didn't like in class, was the feeling that I used to go through. But that is what Jay stood for back then. Back in the day, we had to beg and borrow classrooms from KC College. I remember sneaking into 13 KC and 14 KC and sitting down out there and trying to reserve the class. Of course, this has changed with all of these colleges combining, and therefore now you having one full-fledged university. Back in the day, to get 350 people on a webinar would be a great challenge. Of course, under Dr. Ramchandani's stewardship, I think you all have just transformed already. And now the fact that this is a university, because I remember back in the day when we were in college, when we had to fill a class, my faculty advisor used to tell me, my teacher in charge used to tell me, saying, please go to the canteen, Rishabh, and get all the students who are in canteen. And we would find half of the class in the canteen and the very, very few who were interested in class per se. But honestly, public speaking is something that I'm very passionate, and I'll come to that, which is the most important thing and the reason why I'm here. So I'm not yet a natural speaker, as you can tell. I'm not prolific when it comes to public speaking, but I used to be petrified of speaking on stage. Speaking on stage was something that my teachers used to tell me, saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Now, this is what the United States of America said about Donald Trump. But just a joke, all right? Please take half of the stuff as absolutely useless and the other half as completely useless. So what makes you stronger does not kill you necessarily. This is what USA thinks of Donald Trump. At HR College, when I used to study, this is what we thought of MUNning and Vipul Prakashan. So do you guys have MUNning and Vipul Prakashan textbooks yet? Okay, so these are ridiculous jokes. Please don't pay attention to any of them. Like I said, had I known that this was a more august gathering, I would have prepared thus. That said, my first problem in public speaking was the fact that I was petrified of the stage. I was scared of speaking on stage. It is much similar to what Deepika Padukone faces when she's called by the NCB. Like, you're called out there, you have to go, you have no choice, you have to answer the questions that they ask you. Now, for some of you who are not well read in current affairs, the next 45 minutes or the next 30 minutes are going to be really boring. For the ones who understand a little bit of current affairs, and that could be anything from Bollywood to anything else, this hopefully should be absolutely boring. But I will try to make it interesting and try to engage with you on this one count, which is stage fright is much like I said, something where people do not have a choice. So sometime down the line, you're going to not have the choice. You're going to be asked to essentially just speak. And when that happens, like I said, it's going to be a pretty frightening thing. Now, how do you get rid of this? How do you get rid of stage fright? Very simple. Do you remember Modi ji sitting in a cave and meditating? Now, people are nodding their head, the ones whose videos are on, but like in most of my Zoom meetings, 90% of the videos are off. So there's nothing that has really changed on that count. But if you remember, Modi ji sat in a cave and meditated. So being self-aware is really important. So first, identifying the fact that, yes, I'm petrified of the stage is a good starting point. Introspecting and meditating a little bit before you go up is great. Now, I'm not Baba Ramdev to tell you, saying that, you should meditate for like 1.5 hours per day. Nor am I Sadhguru, nor will you listen to me if I tell you all of those things. But if you meditate for barely like 5 minutes, if you shut your eyes and if you can focus, so whatever helps you focus, it could be music, it could be meditation, it could be anything per se. But anything that helps you focus is something that will definitely help you in your journey when it comes to public speaking. The second thing that you should do is, the second problem that people face is we have so many eyes looking at us. Like right now, I can see Simran, Disha, Dipti. So ironically, there are no boys who have videos on, which is quite perplexing. In my time, this was the same thing. Boys were just not interested in what was happening. Yeah? Girls were the real ones who would be glued on, who know what stuff actually happened. And it's not too much of a surprise that the girls in my batch did far better than the boys did. But the idea essentially is that there's so many eyes that are looking at you. And so therefore you get worried as to what will people say. So don't look into those eyes. Because honestly, it's not Tiger Shroff who's looking back at you. Yeah. So you don't need to actually go and look into the person's eyes and say like, wow, he's got, crystal blue eyes, or he's got Tom Cruise's looks. Don't need to pay attention to all of that. Don't look into people's eyes because it can be really distracting. So Moksh now switches on the video and Moksh is like, he was insulting boys. So that's the reason I am here. But, I'm not insulting boys. It's just that I feel girls are smarter than us here. But that said, don't look into people's eyes. When you're addressing a crowd at that juncture, just have a W formation or a V formation that you basically look over the crowd. Like, so don't look into their eyes, look at their heads and form a W and form a V over their heads, which basically means you start at the extreme end of the audience and form a W, like one line, second line, third line, and the last line. And keep looking at people's heads. Don't look into their eyes. What this will do is it will make everyone feel that you are looking at them, but in actuality, you're looking at nobody. So the idea is that if you do this, you won't have 100 eyes look back at you. Now, this is not rocket science. I'm not explaining you new astrophysics. It's very simple. What should you do? Just form a W and look at the top of somebody's head. Well, if they've got a pathetic hairstyle like mine, then you land up giggling when you are doing that. But most of the people have well-kempt hair, like all of you. And I only wish I knew this was, again, a formal setting. That said, form the W, meditate before you go up, then form the W when you speak. And the most important thing is walk and talk. So don't necessarily just, whenever you're feeling really nervous, at that juncture, just walk and talk. That'll definitely help you when it comes to public speaking. One of the things that I've observed is people are very nervous for the first 10 seconds. Then after the first 10 seconds, they're all chill. So in the first 10 seconds, just walk a little bit and you will be much more comfortable. So this is another small little something Of course, Krishna Patel from HR PSDS is looking and wondering as to what is this guy going on about. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, guys, you've got the chat section just right out there saying, Rishabh, we don't understand you. And trust me, 99% of the time, I don't understand myself. So there is nothing new about it. Just write in the chat section and I'll repeat myself. It's a three-formed formula. It's a very simple thing. There used to be this faculty advisor in college called Anupama Sawant. Does she teach anymore?
Yes, sir. She does.
So Anupama Sawant, I think, started this with my batch because she looked at me and thought I was really stupid. So she repeated the same thing 5 times. And she'd be like, Rishabh, repeat it again. And repeat it again. I was like, ma'am, I just look stupid. I'm not stupid. But it's a three-pronged test, very simple. Meditate a little for 5 minutes or focus. Play some music, whatever helps you focus. Second, do a W formation and walk and talk in the first 10 seconds. The most important thing that I can tell you for overcoming stage fright is look into the mirror and speak for 30 seconds. Every single day, practice by looking into the mirror and speaking for 30 seconds. Harshita is wondering, saying, this guy is a lunatic. No, I'm not. I just look. When you talk to yourself in a mirror, people in your house will think you're completely nuts. But people in my house, the good part is they've already accepted that I'm a complete nut. Now, in your case, when you look into a mirror and you talk about any subject for 30 seconds. You do this for 21 days, it'll become a habit. And once this becomes a habit, it'll become very simple for you to speak in front of people. And in front of a mirror, you'll only be able to look at yourself. Don't admire yourself. Don't be the narcissistic pricks that I used to be. Because otherwise it's very easy, right? My hair is not looking nice. The watch is not where it's supposed to be, Rishabh. It's supposed to be on your wrist, not on your arm. Things like that. Yeah. So pay attention to the content. Pay attention to your public speaking. Moving forward to the next point is content. This is the second point that Vanshika gave me. She told me to speak to you about, I have content, but I don't know how to say it. Or sometimes I freeze on stage and I don't know what to do. So content, if you have content and you can't speak on stage, and this does happen to some of us. So what you want to do is it's fairly simple. And I'm going to try to elucidate real quick by giving you a small example. Is in the year 2009, when I was in college. So yes, I studied in college in 2009. So I hope my face does not tell my age, but the idea essentially is that when I studied in college in 2009, I was kind of a notorious kid, yeah? So I used to be like all over the place. And back then college was run by Dr. Mrs. Indu Shani, who was the college principal, and a fairly dynamic lady who always thought I was the mischievous kid. So I studied in this course called Bachelors of Accounts and Finance. Are any of you BAF students? If you are, for a second, I will pray for you. And after praying for you, BAF is a great course, all right? BAF is a great course, and I think you've got fantabulous faculty. But the year was 2009. I was kind of a very notorious student, and I personally thought that it was fairly okay if you didn't like a teacher, that you could tell the teacher and you could tell the head of your department. So I went and I asked my friends that, there used to be this professor whom we didn't like. Always there is this one professor whom you don't like, right? People are nodding their head, are reluctantly nodding their head, checking whether the principal or the teacher in charge is here. But there's always this one professor that you don't like. So whilst I was studying, there was this one professor that we didn't like. And we didn't like him not because he was not cool enough. Because honestly, in college, people who are not cool enough don't fit in. Which is why I never fitted in. But the idea essentially is that this professor was somebody that we were not too fond of. So our entire class thought that he didn't know what he was teaching. Now my seniors also, I was in the first year in degree college back then, and my seniors also thought the same thing. So I led this kind of a rebellion, not the kind that the Congress party these days leads, but a fairly successful one. What we did is, these are again jokes. These are light-hearted comments. One kid is suddenly going to write in the chat, "I love the Congress party. Why is this guy being political?" Not being political, I love both the Congress and the BJP. Right, but, I should clarify, I don't like either of them. But the idea essentially is that, we wrote a letter to our head of department, and we got 60 signatures on it. There were 60 students in Bachelors of Accounts and Finance. Are there 60? Are you yet a class of 60? You yet a class of 60?
We're getting in comments saying that the strength has increased and now they're 200 plus. That's what the comment section says.
There are 200 plus students who have made the mistake of taking bath. Just joking. So there are 200 students who've made the good choice of taking bath. See, this is the reason why you should tell me who's paying it, who's going to be sitting in for this conversation. But that said, if all of you who've taken bath, so we didn't have this professor who was good. So we wrote this letter, we submitted it to the HOD, and the HOD actually took it to the principal and said, there's this young boy called Rishabh Shah, most common name and the most common surname in the world, with no relation to Amit Shah. Ridiculous. These are the ridiculous jokes that I crack in the middle of the conversation with the hope that you'll actually smile. Eventually nobody does. But she took this letter and she went to Mrs. Indu Shahani, and Dr. Shahani saw the letter, told the HOD, I suppose, that if the college, if the students don't want the professor to teach, tell Rishabh that the demand is accepted. So I was jubilant. I was like, we've overthrown a professor. This is the best thing in the world. And please don't ever do this, because you don't know what happens next. This is what happens next. Called in the cabin of the HOD. I was made to stand there, and she said, Rishabh, you successfully removed a professor. But now your award is, you're going to be teaching first year, second year students this particular subject, and third year students this particular subject. So my HOD and my college principal then called me in and said, Rishabh, now that you've done all of this, why don't you teach the subject? And now the tough part is, you can sit and you can criticize very easily. But when it comes to actually going out there and talking in front of people, then it's a big issue. So I thought my professor didn't know how to teach when I didn't even have a degree. And now when I was made to teach, I kind of realized the trauma. So I was made to stand in front of my class of 60 students and deliver a lecture on this subject area. And it went off really different from what I thought. I thought I was going to be like Vasudev Krishna, and the other side people were going to be like Arjun, and this was going to be the Gita Sar. But what it turned out to be was completely different. Now, some of you look at me perplexed, you South Bombay kids who don't know anything about Mahabharata, just like me when I was in college. But the idea is that, no, I'm just generalizing. I'm sorry if there's Sobo kids out here. I'm just generalizing because I just feel that all of us are very, very similar in many a way. That said, my class was pretty nice, was not that bad, completely different from what I thought. But I'll tell you the more interesting part. I went to my seniors. And when you talk to your seniors, they any which way feel that we're seniors. And there's a junior who's teaching us. So it's like, junior is going to come to my class and teach me. Started with folded hands. I said, I apologize. I'm here only because of that petition. So it's just probably 1 or 2 lectures. And then Ma'am Shani is going to appoint a proper professor. Nothing doing. The class, my seniors were much like Gigi Hadid and Zayan Malik. Gigi Hadid and Zayan Malik, right? Of course, you know. You of course know that they just had a kid. Because these are the things you know. Just joking, guys. Just joking. So, So they were much like Gigi Hadid and Zayn Malik. There were students who dressed like them, and the others were only interested in what Virat and Anushka, equivalent back then, Sachin and his wife Anjali were doing. That's the interest level in class, right? Because I think every lecture is not your favorite lecture. You have certain lectures which you really like and then certain which you don't like. And now imagine your juniors coming to your class to teach you a subject. So sad thing happened. They obviously made a mockery out of me in the first 10 seconds. And in the conversation that happened, that I was explaining, there are obviously over smart students in class, like the ones who are really smart, like so smart that they say things like, it's not Leviosa, it's Leviosa. And I'm like, but, and some of you again are blank because you have not read Harry Potter. These are the things you need to study, guys. Just joking. But the idea essentially is that so there was this one girl in class who was very smart, and she spoke and she made a lot of sense. I did not know the answers to a lot of questions, was kind of embarrassed. But the difficult thing was the most difficult thing was my confidence was at an all-time low, and I spoke to the third year students. And the third year students had to teach the same subject. And at that juncture, nothing came out of my mouth. Just like what Banchika's question was. When you know the content, but you can't speak. I couldn't speak because I was low in confidence, and was also the one of the girls in TY was somebody who I had a huge crush on. So, which is why I could not pay attention to what was happening in that lecture, in that class. I was expected to give a speech to speak to them, and and teach them. Now what happened is there was nothing coming out of my mouth. And this happens to the best of us. And the way to solve and overcome, to overcome this problem, this fear of glossophobia. Now, what is glossophobia? It's the fear of public speaking. This is what you're supposed to be learning today about. So I'm hoping that this is the public speaking debating society. You know what is glossophobia. So this sudden juncture where I was expected to speak and I didn't know what to say has happened to me multiple times in life. And it happened then, and nothing came out. Nothing came out for the first 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And the only thing that came out were essentially words like, so what I was thinking. Didn't make sense. Now the idea essentially is that how do you overcome this? And it took me back to the same thing. Calm yourself down. You've got so many thoughts in your brain. You have 100 things in your brain, and therefore 1,000 things are coming on the tongue. Pause, like breathe. You and me forget to breathe. Like, I mean, we breathe, but we forget to breathe. Like, you get the stuff. Like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, someone's like literally saying, how can we forget breathing? Huh, Rishabh? If we forgot breathing, then we wouldn't be living. Didn't mean that. I meant just breathe. I went outside the class. I went to the washroom, washed my face, collected, calm, composed, looked into the mirror, said, Rishabh, you've got this. The girl that you really like, it's okay, she's 2 years elder to you, but the girl that you really like is in the class. You've got this. I went back. I tried to speak. And remember the W formation? Remember the W formation? So I didn't look into their eyes because I was like, shit, these are third-year kids. They're making fun of me. They're like, dude, that guy doesn't know shit. Sorry for the slang, but that guy doesn't know shit. And what he's saying is rubbish. End of the class, it was a horrible experience. At the end of the class, this girl walks up to me and says, listen, Rishabh, you didn't make too much sense, but you're very cute. I was like, job well done. At least at least 50% of the mission's done. But the most important thing was this, that the only reason I was able to speak is because I composed myself. I was calm. I washed my face. I looked into the mirror. I did the W formation, and I did those basic things right. If I didn't, believe me, I don't think she would have come at the end of the class and said, listen, Rishabh, whatever. the idea essentially is that people are now smiling for no reason. Now this is the problem. Right? When it gets into a Bollywoodish story, that's the only time that people actually pay attention. Yeah, but going to the next segment, which is the next part, which is the part which she asked me to cover. Vanshika did, and she said, when you know the correct answer, but somebody answers it before you. So what happens then? When you know the right answer, but somebody answers it before you. And this has happened to me many a time. In fact, most famously, it happened to me, and I articulated this in a book called The Open Mic, which has nothing to do about comedy. Don't ever buy it. It's freely available. Just ask me, I'll send you a copy, because nobody buys it. It's not meant for buying and selling anymore any which way. So the idea is, the year was, I think, 2009 or 10. Again, I was selected to be a part of a prestigious contingent. And all of these stories are more based on failures and less successes. People come and talk about, I did this and I did that. And I was like, dude, I failed so many times that you can learn so much from it. So if ever, Vanshika, you're looking for failures and people who failed a lot in life, you've got the right guy. But so in 2009-10, this Afro-American dude from America was coming to India. Pretty famous back then because he was also president of the United States of America. President Barack Obama was scheduled to come to Mumbai. From a very small, distinguished cohort of individuals in and across all of India, students from HR College, St. Xavier's, St. Stephen's, and a few very reputed colleges across got an opportunity. And in every college, there were about 10 students who were selected to be a part of this engagement. President Obama was talking to 200 change makers. Look at me. Look at me and look at me 10 years ago. From no angle do I look like a change maker. But the idea essentially is that Dr. Mrs. Indu Shani, much like I think your current principal, strives to give you the opportunity to interact and engage with people. So I was selected for President Obama's address. Now, trust me, for anybody who likes public speaking, Obama's like God. So like Obama's like the guy who's got it all covered. Now, when you're speaking to President Obama, which is going to be a tough task for somebody who's revered him a lot. You know, these days we make fun about the part-time president, full-time comedian Donald Trump. But the idea is, back then President Obama had that kind of charisma that people world over kind of respected him. And you're bloody like 18 years old, and you are expected to speak to President Barack Obama. So anyways, you were like, dude, what, like, wait, I can't say anything more, but you know, the thoughts in your mind are like, what am I going to say? And suddenly President Obama walks up in the square of St. Xavier's College and goes shaking everyone's hand saying, hi, nice to meet you, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. I'm obviously in the last row because I'm the least important student. I just managed to scrape in, just went there. It's much like Gujaratis at HR College. All you Sindhis have so much of a quota in college that we barely get a seat in college. Yeah. So anybody who's not a Sindhi, it's like a task getting into HR College. I remember getting I remember being on the last list of Bachelors of Accounts and Finance at bloody 90%. And I was like, shit, how can a kid who's got 90% be on the last list? And because there are only some X number of seats which Sindhis don't leave. But I love HR. But so it was much like that. I was the last guy in a room full of 200 people. And Vanshika, whenever I'm going overboard, just stop me. But the idea essentially is that I went in and President Obama was there full in flesh and blood. And I was just transfixed looking at that guy saying, dude, shit, this guy is real. Like, we've seen him on TV and all that, but now this guy's like really standing in front of me. It's like, you know, if you guys like Ranbir Kapoor or Alia, for that matter. So if you like Alia and Alia suddenly just comes in front of you and you're like, public's not enamored. Public's like, we don't care about Alia. Cool, fine, fair. So let's assume the person that you really revere comes right in front of you and is speaking. President Obama said questions from students, and everybody raised their hand, and so did I. And everyone was covering this, yeah? So if you Google President Obama's visit to St. Xavier's College, you will get tons of articles on it. And President Obama looks, and it was live coverage, and he looks on one side of the room and at one side of the square, and he points in my direction. He points in my direction, guys. The first question of the goddamn interaction. So it's a big thing. So he points in my direction, and I've raised my hand, and the guy next to me has also raised his hand. Now, President Obama recognizes you first. So it's not like an MUN conference where your chair recognized you first. It's goddammit Obama who's recognizing you as the first person in a room full of 200. And believe me, the only reason he recognized me first, I'm pretty sure, was that we'd start with the most stupid question and we'll work ourselves upwards. But the idea is that he pointed at me and I could not stand. And the guy next to me just stood up, took the mic. Hi, my name is, and started with his question. And I actually shrugged my shoulders. And I have that video clip in which I go like me, and Obama goes like, and Obama shrugs his shoulders and says, sorry, you missed your chance. I've had the good fortune of interacting with a lot of leaders since. Lots of world leaders, lots of heads of states, a lot of Bollywood and blah, blah, blah. But I've never got the chance to interact with President Obama since then. I've written to him many a time, but you see, he's Obama, I'm Rishabh. So there's a little bit of a difference, just a little. But the idea is I missed my opportunity. And this brings me to the very important and critical points that I want to cover. The problem is that when we look up to somebody so much, we forget, or when we're in a position where we can't basically say the stuff that we've prepared. That's basically because we're either enamored far too much and we lack the spontaneity. These are the two main things that I faced as a problem. I forgot that Obama is also flesh and blood, and I also forgot spontaneity. Now, how can you work on spontaneity? Spontaneity, very simple. Do you know of this game called Taboo? It's taboo to say taboo. Ridiculous things I say. But play the game called Taboo. Why? Because it will help in building spontaneity. Now, some of your teachers, if they're there, they'd be like, we called this guy to speak as a guest lecturer and he gives an advice saying, play Taboo. God damn it, play Taboo. Because quite honestly, if you want to work on your spontaneity, that's definitely going to help you being more and more spontaneous. And if you don't, you're only going to hopefully not land up in a position like me. And you will meet a lot of people that you really look up to. Not look up to like the way Jaya Bachchan looks up to Amitabh Bachchan, yeah? Not that way. Public's like, he's using examples of the 1950s. Just encompassing every age bracket that is probably listening to this. But the idea is that if you do not play Taboo and get rid of your fear, or rather, if you do not get rid of the problem of being enamored by people, you're going to face a lot of problems going forward. And that's going to be a big challenge for both you and for everybody else around you. Because I remember all the kids in college celebrating one or two students who had asked a question to President Obama. And the first guy who was given the chance was the guy who's talking to you today. I didn't make any headlines, no newspapers, never have made it. Now I don't want to, now I consciously work towards not making it. But back then in 2009-10, if somebody told me saying, Rishabh, you're going to make the front page of Times of India, I'd be very excited. I'd be very, very excited. So how do you work on spontaneity? Start playing Taboo. And the last 2 points that I'll touch base on is You'll always find a Betty Cooper in life. Now, I don't know whether you've seen Riverdale or whether you watch Riverdale at all, but you'll always find a Betty Cooper in life. Somebody who always knows better. Like she knows what needs to be done. You don't know what's happening in life, but she solved the case. So you're going to meet all of these people. And it's more likely that you meet these people in an MUN conference or in a debate competition. Because in a debate competition, the nation wants to know. That's what happens. The nation wants to know ki rasode mein kaun tha. Correct? That's what the nation wants to know. And people essentially, people switch on their videos, they're like, this guy cracks one joke which is funny. In a 45-minute lecture, he cracked one joke that was funny. But the nation wants to know. And this is what is the normal, this is the new normal in debates and MUN. We shout because we feel that shouting matches are the way that our judges are going. The more we shout, the more likely judges will give us first, second, and third place. For all of you who are good MUNers, good debaters, and are not scared of public speaking, but are yet forcefully sitting here today, this is something small that you can take back. And now Harshita smiles because she's like, I am one of those students. And there are 16 Harshitas out here, so there's no problem. It was not directed to anyone in particular. But the idea essentially is that how many of you are good at MUN's debates and public speaking? How many of you are good at MUN's debates and public speaking? In the chat section, if you'd be kind enough in order to write, that'd be fantastic. Okay. Okay, lovely. I've done debate before, etc., etc. Yo, me, amigo. Okay, I will very soon reach adios, amigo. So before I reach that, shit. I just started the Zoom meeting link where I can see your chat section, and I'm now reading all the really embarrassing comments that people have written, and I can also see your principal's display picture up, which is even more worrisome. But for all you pros, for all you experts of public speaking, all right, remember, public speaking is not a shouting match. Today, television studios only show you that the more you shout, the better you're going to be. Believe me when I say the best and the most prolific public speakers across the world don't shout. They utilize something which is called, and this is the secret to a lot of good speeches. They utilize, and one of the things that I'd want to leave you with is something that's called power generators. I don't know whether you've heard of the concept of power generators, but power generators are much like bhaiyo aur behno, mere pyare mitro, and mitro. Bottom of my heart, I worked on it, but I yet sound very young Grace. The idea is that power generators are words such as mitro. Power generators are basically things such as making you repeat the same thing again and again so that you get used to it. Rhetoric is a very important part of good speeches. Whether or not you would understand anything from this conversation, you'll at least remember that you need to go in front of a mirror and speak for 30 seconds. Why? Because I'm reiterating this at least 5 times over. At least 5 times over, I'm reiterating the same point again and again so that it at least goes into your brains. Of course, you're smarter, therefore I don't need to say this. But for anybody who's good at giving speeches, try using power generators, quotes, anecdotes, and utilizing the same point again and again and again, and it automatically becomes a power generator. Like, be the change you want to see. Like, we can do this together, and so on and so forth. There are also a few things like chronomics, which is the concept of time, as to how can you use time. I never follow time. It's already 2 p.m. and I've been told that this meeting is up until 2 p.m. But with your permission, Vanshika, I'll extend it for 5 more minutes.
Yes, sir, of course. It's up to you. I think we have a few people wanting to ask questions also. So whenever you want to open the floor to questions.
So she's in a very polite manner. Vanshika's like, Rishabh, don't talk so much. The questions also, Rishabh, please. And I'm like, okay, this is the last couple of things that I want to tell you is chronomics, because chronomics is the concept of time, proxemics, the concept of space. You've got haptics, which is the concept of touch. There are things like this which you can use when it comes to public speaking, which will make you a better speaker. Like say, for example, if you pat the back of somebody when they're sitting in class and you are the speaker, automatically that person pays more attention. When your principal was taking the names of all of you whilst you were in that small group, at that juncture you felt special. When I take your names individually, for no good reason, you'll start smiling, which basically means that things such as proxemics, things such as chronomics, things such as haptics are very useful. Another very important thing is language, as language is sometimes a barrier. Today, all of us talk in chaste English. Manje, hum log आधा हिंदी में बात करते, आधा English में बात करते. And that is why it's very simple to say words such as Chomu, you're not understanding what I'm saying. But now imagine, or if you're understanding what I'm saying, you are not necessarily reciprocating. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying, guys? Let's just do a quick check. Public's laughing over any random joke. Guys, I'm judging you here. Okay, but anyway, so you're paying attention as long as you laugh. Now, the thing is, when you communicate with people across the world, like speaking at the UN, now, there were a lot of Indian students, so that was a good thing. But a few times, a few mistakes that a few people have made, like called me to these places like Oxford and so on and so forth. When you speak at all of these prestigious places, at that juncture, what happens is the way they converse is very different from the way we converse. They sound more like Shashi Tharoor and less like you and me. Another problem with Shashi Tharoor is that Tharoorasaurus, I do not understand, and I cannot refer to. So how do we catch their diction, accent, customs? Whilst we're speaking like this and it's fairly comfortable and acceptable in our society, in Japan, if I were to address you like this, people would be more offended. How can you call a president of United States of America full-time comedian? Things like that would be offensive. But in India, they're fine. So for all those people who are really good at public speaking, try to learn the finer nuances. Try to observe and read and see more speeches of world leaders. See how Martin Luther King Jr. spoke. See how Winston Churchill gave his speeches. Definitely don't look at my Instagram page. Basically, look at leaders who inspire. And these people who inspire would be the great and more prolific. Up the conversation and open to questions. I will end with this. Don't shout. Don't be a Carrie Minati and don't be a popular news anchor at 9 p.m. Unless you want to get into that profession. And even if you want to get into journalism, please don't shout. Because sometimes I wonder saying, if you shout so much, don't you realize the fact that the more you shout and the longer you shout, the faster you're going to run out of energy. And sooner or later you will be panting. So you'll start 9 p.m. as the nation wants to know, but you'll end 11 o'clock by, so what I was saying is these guys don't know what they're doing. I'm like, but if you just spoke in the same way, the same tempo, increased, decreased, modulated as necessary, then it wouldn't be a problem. I always was taught this, and there was a guy called Ratan Tata. He's yet there. And the same thing was echoed to me by late former President Pranab Mukherjee. Both of them told me this, saying, Rishabh, it's better to talk to a knowledgeable person than reading 100 books. And I'll end by telling you what they told me. Now that you've spoken to us, please go and read 100 books. Because quite honestly, I am not knowledgeable, and I hope I have given you the small little something, which is in terms of going back and practicing in front of a mirror, doing the W formation, and a few useless tips that probably may help you. For the more, for the ones who are who are more prolific in public speaking. We're doing something also in the organization about the art of communication. I run a small organization called MUNning, which is very boring. Sorry, Vanshika, I have to do a small plug-in. So otherwise people at IMUN will be like, Rishabh, you went and you spoke in a college, you didn't mention IMUN once, Rishabh, once. So, so I need to plug in IMUN a little bit. And so we run this organization called IMUN, which basically is a bunch of young, useless people doing young, stupid things, like organizing concourses and so on and so forth. But the idea essentially is that it's all young people. It's between the age bracket of 16 and 24. And because you're from HR college and because I think your principal and your teacher are out here, just as a special something from my end, I'd be the most delighted to have how many ever of you being a part of this organization in whatever capacity. We're doing something in terms of art of communication for an advanced level, which is in terms of how do you use power generators? How do you make an audience cry and laugh in the same speech? How can you create riots? Not that you need to, not that you should, but how can you do all of those things, and how can you use speech as a medium in order to inspire millions? It's been a pleasure and a privilege. And like I said, you've spoken to me, so you better go and read 100 books. Thank you very much if you've been listening. And if you haven't, even then, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that amazing speech. My name is Ayan. I serve as the Vice President for the Public Speaking and Debating Society. And now we'll have the floor open for questions, if that's fine by you. So how we're going to go about this is that the audience can drop in their questions in the chat box, and then I'll read them to you, and then you can surely take them up.
Done, Ayan. Very nice to hear you. You've got great command over your dictions. Very good. And I sincerely hope that we get some questions if anybody's been paying attention. And I'm sure all of you have been paying attention.
Okay, so we have a question that's rather good and coherent to the manner in which you delivered the session today. The question goes something like, can you tell us about the importance of humor in speech as you've used it today?
What's the importance of humor in a speech? Honestly, if you don't use humor in a speech, public's gonna sleep, yeah? So so the question, if I'm rightly reading out this question from Waliullah Ajmal, he says, can you tell us about the importance? So how important is it? I think it's very, very important. In today's day and age, people have forgotten the fact that you need to drum down serious issues, that you can't give a lecture on economics by just talking about demand and supply. Because come on, dude, demand and supply, it's been going on the same thing. We've been learning about keys and we've been learning about a whole bunch of things since forever. But if you add humor to it, people are going to take it nicely. I mean, at the end of the day, when you want to relax, guys, would you see a shouting match, or would you see a movie that calms you down and is kind of humorous? Humor calms you down and it breaks the barrier. So how important is it? I'd say first learn stand-up comedy, then learn public speaking. And both are synonymous and both are very easy to learn and to develop. And honestly, there is no formal way or method to do it. You'll develop a style of your own very, very soon. But humor is very important. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question in order that we have, I think 2 or more people have asked about the same thing. So I'll just present that question to you. So the question goes something like, how do we break the language barrier and improve our language skills so that we are able to evolve as better communicators?
How do you break the language and barrier skills, and like how do you break the language barrier is a great question. I don't know whether you guys remember Virat in 2008. Virat Kohli in 2008 was a very bad public speaker. He was not good at public speaking. Today you see him at the post-match presentation. Of course, he's one of the fittest and most hardworking people in the country. But at the same point in time, he speaks eloquently. So how can you break the language barrier, and how can you speak in a language that is not your first language? And let's be honest, I grew up in a household where Gujarati was spoken more than English. Yeah. So I spoke to my grandparents in Gujarati. I studied in 2 institutions, one where learning Hindi was not mandatory, and the other in which I studied Mandarin. I didn't study Hindi formally ever in my life, albeit, you know, infinitesimally, I think for a couple of years, very briefly, I studied in a very small way Hindi. So the idea is that we have not grown up necessarily fluent in English because this is not our first language. But believe me, you can work on it. I've seen tons of examples and people who worked on their communication skills. And how do you do it? Very simple. All those who are not conversant in or very fluent or lucid as much as they'd like to be in formal communication or in communication per se, watch English movies. Watch English movies without goddammit subtitles, because even in our cinemas, you have subtitles. When you watch Friends, at that juncture, there are subtitles. When you watch The Big Bang Theory, there are subtitles. Don't do that. I watched the Mahabharata on Hotstar without subtitles. So I learned a little bit of Hindi. But the idea essentially is that whichever language you want to be fluent in, you want to try to watch as many movies of that particular language. And that's the easiest task. If somebody tells you as your homework to work on your language, you need to watch a movie a day. God damn it, if somebody gave me that homework when I was in school and college, I'd willingly do it. So watch any 45 minutes of a sitcom you like, but don't watch it with subtitles. Watch Riverdale, but don't watch it with subtitles. And then try to understand what Betty's telling Jug and whatever's happening. Season 4, season 5, whatever it is. The best way to be fluent and conversant in a language is try to watch more of that language without subtitles per se. So when I was learning Mandarin and a little bit of whatever languages I know, the same thing, watching those movies in the language that you are trying to study or learning.
Okay, so the next question that we have is, how do we connect with our audience during public speaking? So
how do you connect with your audience during public speaking? Fairly simple, very, very simple. Remember, this is a conversation. It's not a speech. If you even ask them questions in the middle, or if you intersperse it with humor or with inspiration or with rhetoric questions, basically there should be some form of engagement. If it's just a goddammit speech, like I know so many people who read, and I have nothing against reading speeches, but some of our most venerable and erudite leaders today in the country read speeches. And I look at them and I go to sleep, because the only thing is the content might be great, but who's going to hear a budget speech? I don't know whether any of you guys follow Indian politics that closely, but if you do, my question to you, how many of you have even heard the entire budget speech? Nobody hears the budget speech because she's reading off a piece of paper, and she reads for about 2.5 hours. And if you're going to listen to somebody for 2.5 hours, so we're saying chapter 7, page 61, clause 22. No one's going to pay attention. Engage in colloquy, engage in conversation. If you engage in conversation, only at that juncture is it going to leave the audience wanting to talk to you. Like, say, for example, how many of you are understanding what I'm saying? How many of you are understanding what I'm saying? Public's raising their hands. Public's like me. Somebody's writing me twice. The audience that you're talking to. And see, I always try to speak to a room full of doctors about chartered accountancy. And I speak to a room full of chartered accountants about MBBS. So then everyone's like, that guy's a smart guy, huh? That guy's a smart guy. Yeah, of course. When you spoke about MBBS in front of MBBS students, there will be a big problem. No? So the idea is, remember this, that the key, if you're observing, is in order to intersperse everything in life with humor. If you can do that, your audience will pay attention to you. Even President Obama, when he left office, did a mic drop. he did a mic drop. I don't know whether you pay that much attention to US politics, but he did a mic drop, and people were like, dude, a US president doing a mic drop is pretty cool. I spoke in the UN headquarters in track pants and a t-shirt. So the idea is the UN diplomats out there who saw me were like, dude, this guy's crazy. And at least the kids who were there in one of the years paid attention, because they're like, dude, this guy's really crazy. The idea is, whatever you do, try to make it engaging and interesting. How can you do that? You can do that with humor. You can do that with stories. You can do that with your clothes that you're wearing. You can do that with your hair. You can do that as long as you get the audience's attention, you're through. Yeah.
Okay. So, so how many questions are you comfortable with taking beyond this point?
Listen, my friend, it's a Saturday afternoon. So I had two things to do. One is sleep, and the second is bore you to sleep. So, but I'd be happy to take 2 or 3 more questions. 3 questions.
Rishabh, I have a question to ask you.
Oh, that's great.
Now I'm scared.
No, as teachers, many times we do introductions and vote of thanks. So when I formally introduced you today, you said that it was a longish introduction. So I really I really want to know that ideally what should the introduction cover, because we really do this a lot of times throughout the year. So if you could just say something more about this.
Okay, no, I didn't mean it, ma'am. I didn't mean it literally. Geeta ma'am, I think you did a great job. Yeah.
No, but I really want a feedback on this. It's not just for me, but how long ideally should an introduction be, or a vote of thanks also?
So this is like a tricky question, because if you answer it, then people will judge you. But if you don't answer it, then also people will judge you. So ma'am, I will try. I think you've done a great job at the introduction. I think the way this whole thing is conducted just shows the professionalism that HR College has continued to have over the years. I think since I have heard of HR when I was in grade 5 and grade 6, since then till date, HR has maintained that level. So what you did, ma'am, is perfect for a formal event. But in terms of making it more concise, ma'am, sometimes I feel, the people who come and speak and engage, and when I used to be a student, at that juncture, when people would come, they would give such a long description, because see, you don't need to give a description for Sachin Tendulkar. For Sachin, you're just like, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have Sachin Tendulkar. But ma'am, for people like me, because nobody knows me, it's but natural you have to give an introduction. But what I'm saying is that if you were to say 2 lines, like if you were to say that he was an he's an alumni from HR College, and he's done a whole bunch of things which he'll tell you a little better about, then leave it to the speaker, because what happens is nobody can be very pompous. And automatically, ma'am, you'll come to know the speaker also. Is he more interested in talking about the 100, 2,000 things which he's done which are successful, or alternatively, whether he's also humble and he just shakes aside all the introduction? Because I think, ma'am, when you call these students, that time you give a small introduction. Like I saw Vanshika's graphic, which said that, he's spoken at this, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But the students would have probably seen the entire thing. I know sometimes it may come across as disrespectful, saying, how can you ask Ratan Tata to introduce himself? But this is what I always tried to do when I was in college. When I was made to moderate, I used to always go up and ask the teachers, saying, is it okay if I get the guests to introduce themselves? They said, Rishabh is the chairman of ABC so-and-so, and it's not going to be correct. But some of the teachers did allow me to do it. And depending upon the occasion, like, of course, if you're hosting a chief minister or something like that, ma'am, what you did is just perfect. But if it's a young fellow, probably, Rishabh, introduce yourself because you anyways talk too much, type of a thing, or just 2 lines about, like, he's done a bunch of things and made our college proud, type of a thing. But I think, ma'am, what you did for a formal function was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and ma'am, I think one of the things that which I see, which is so great, I think none of my professors smiled as much as you smile, ma'am. So So both you and Pooja ma'am always, like, even a picture right now, it's just like, you know, if you zoom in on a picture, it's like a smiling face. So it's just like the people feel approachable, and people love talking to teachers who are smiling. So I think when you're doing something and you're in front of a crowd and you're speaking, if you have a smile on your face, I think that solves half of the problems. So just smiling, addressing, and then depending upon the occasion, and just a few lines, and then Rishabh, say rubbish, like, you know, talk rubbish.
Yeah, I think what I would like to take away from this webinar today is your sense of humor, because as you rightly said, that a pinch of humor can do wonders. Even in our lectures, you know, if we could bring in that humor, I think that's very appealing to the audience.
Ma'am, the problem with young people today, no, is like me also, is the fact that if we don't make it exciting and engaging for them, no, and I think you in college we make it really exciting and engaging, but I've seen some colleges it becomes like it becomes like, oh my god, it's another lecture. But if you make it like fun and this thing, which in college I remember all our professors doing, and I'm sure you already do, then it just becomes more and more engaging for them. And of course, but you're really smart. Like, see, I'm stupid, so I can do all of this. But like, you know, when a smart person is expected to like dumb down, then they'll be like, how can I say all these senseless things? Like, the nation wants to know the rasode mein kaun tha. Like, who says that? Like, so things like that, which is ridiculous. But ma'am, I'm more than happy. Like, you know, I'm so glad that you asked me a question. It's just an honor, and I hope I gave half a correct answer. And I'll, with your permission, I'll take any two questions from the kids, from the students.
Okay, so the next question goes, sir, which books do you suggest that we read in order to improve our personality?
Don't read an open mic. Interesting book by a great author. Sold exactly 2 copies. Then we gave it for free. It's called An Open Mic. Don't read that. But on a serious note, which other books can you improve your personality? Very simple. I think read about great people. Yeah, I get really inspired when I look at like my experiments with truth. What Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi did for our country. He's a legend. What world leaders across the long walk to freedom, Nelson Mandela, is a great book to read. My letters to something I forgot. It was J.R.D. Tata. His letters which he's written. I used to try to make it a habit to read a book a week when I was in college and in school. I have continued to try to maintain that habit, but now I read a book in a year. But the idea is that I try to read a book in a month, but the idea is try to read as much as possible. I know I sound a little bit, it sounds a little bit like a sermon, but quite honestly, if you read autobiographies or biographies, you'll kind of pick up a lot. You know, people who've actually done stuff. So like I said, like Gandhiji, like Mandela, like Obama, people like that, and you'll definitely get inspired. Also, I think there's sort of Ganguly's book, and I'm not talking only about cricket, but even football. There's Karan's book, Karan Johar, which is famous these days, but he's our alumni, all right? Don't forget. But Karan's book, which is I forgot the name, An Unsuitable Boy, and all of these books are phenomenal. I think they're great to read. And the last question, my friend, whichever last question you want to take.
So the last question goes, what do we do when people start debating about the topic we're speaking on and raise question on our information?
Okay, I didn't get that. I'm sorry, I'm slow.
Okay, so the question is basically, how do we handle questions about a topic that we're speaking on?
How do we handle questions that topic that we're speaking on? Okay, so say for example, if I'm talking about, so just to get this question right, if I'm talking about ABC, then if somebody starts asking questions on ABC, then how do I handle that?
Yeah, that's what the question goes like.
Okay, it's a very tricky question, but I will try to answer it because I don't know whether I fully understood it. But anyhow, so from the little that I understand is, if somebody's questioning you on the data that you are giving, basically that's the question. Then honestly get the facts right. Like before you speak, I strongly urge all of you to not speak like me. Don't ramble on and don't do stand-up comedy in the middle of a speech. 5-6 lines is fine, but have hard facts. Yeah. So I spoke to, I think was your president of the Students' Council. I just spoke to him today in the morning. Today was like the HR college day. I lined up all the engagements of HR college today. I spoke to that boy. I forgot his name. Yeah. Hitesh. Hitesh. So I spoke to him and he had some questions on politics and this, that, etc. And he's doing some interview series and he said, Rishabh, I want to start with you. I said, biggest mistake in your life. But when I was answering, I tried to prepare as much as I could. I got, honestly, I got 10 minutes to prepare for the thing because there were a spate of engagements before. But the idea was that even for 10 minutes, I tried to prepare and then give the answers to the question. So at the end of the conversation, in fact, he mentioned that the facts that you gave were great. But honestly, the facts that I gave was only because I got a chance to go through the questions, read. And quite honestly, because if you're a voracious reader and if you read the newspapers every day, of course, these days newspapers are more paper, less news. But the idea is that if you essentially read the newspapers or if you follow news, it'd be very easy for you to incorporate a lot of elements like you saw in today's conversation. I had just written bullet points per se. I had not written a long speech. It was point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the other was nonsense. Was just information that I had from before, which I passed on, which I hope made some sense. So the idea essentially is that. I particularly like one question. With your permission, I'll just take it and close with that.
Surely, sir. Definitely.
Niharika Panchal. Unless you planted it, my friend. Did you plant this question?
No, we did not, sir.
It's like, please say about drama techniques used by public speaking. This is like superb. Like, so back in the day, there used to be a college club, all right, that used to do a lot of drama and theater and all of that jazz, right? So I used to be pathetic at, please don't call me sir, yeah, listen. I'm just a few years elder to you guys. Anyhow, so what I'm saying is, the idea essentially is that when you are incorporating drama techniques in a speech, what will happen is you will be able to entertain. Shah Rukh Khan may not give great content in a speech, but Shah Rukh Khan is an entertainer. When he speaks, the audience stands and applauds. Of course, because he's Shah Rukh. Like, he just removes his glasses and goes like, मैं जो आपको बोल रहा था, and public goes like, oh my God, that's Shah Rukh Khan. I do that, public goes like, nikalo isko. But the idea is that you want to be able to incorporate drama. I think the best speakers are great at drama. I'm not saying anything about a very popular speaker who cried in his speech just in 2017-18 when the nation was facing a lot of trauma, and he cried in his speech. And I sincerely believe that he was actually feeling bad about people feeling bad, but he started crying in the middle of a speech. Guys, now let's analyze this objectively for a second. Do you really think okay, somebody just mentioned, oh, self-burn, those are rare. Okay, they sent it to me privately, but thanks. So the idea is in 2017-18, there was a speaker nationally he was addressing, it wasn't me, and he was giving a speech about this very particular subject that caused the country great pain. And he started crying in that speech, yeah? So, and I was like, this is phenomenal. This is great. Now, whether he felt it and he started crying himself, or whether he actually like, you know, he had a script and he was following the script, bro, the nation was touched. Guys, the nation was touched. They said that this guy cries for us and he feels for us. And honestly, the best public speakers dramatize spontaneously. Like, it's like if they see a conversation which is interesting and people are inspired, then they go on and on and on. And these people are called politicians. So never call them, and don't ever call me, because both them and me continue to go on, though I never aspire to join politics. But it's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege. It's been an honor to be able to behave like a dementor and suck all the energy out of you on this afternoon conversation. It was the siesta for majority of you, I would like to believe. Somebody sends privately, you are really cute. Thanks, yeah. Send this publicly, guys. Send this publicly. But jokes apart, all right. It's been a pleasure. I'm sorry I couldn't get a chance to answer all the questions that probably all of you guys asked. I can leave you with, if the college allows, I can leave you with my Instagram handle, and please feel free to ask me any question that you have. You see a very funny guy on Instagram with an even funnier face with a funnier hairstyle.
Okay, so apologies for the questions that we were not able to take because of the time constraints. And yes, so you can definitely share your Instagram. We do not have any reservations to that at all. So now I would like to take this moment to thank our esteemed speaker, Mr. Rishabh Shah, for taking time out of his busy schedule.
Don't call me esteemed and all. Come on.
Sorry?
Don't call me esteemed and everything. Oh, sorry, ma'am's come. Call me esteemed, guys. Please call me esteemed.
Okay. Yes.
I was there. I think I'll take a minute of you all. And I was there listening to the entire talk by Rishabh. And I think all of the students who were there would agree. It was so natural, soft, composed. None of the time he was getting humor into picture. He was taking his own stories of HR college and the engagement that he had with all of you. I mean, I was looking at the pictures. I had put my video off and I was observing who's listening to Rishabh. As a good teacher, I was supporting Rishabh. But this is what I have been telling even PSDS, that each one of you who have joined your club or an association is unique. Some are extrovert, some are introvert. You all have to ensure that whatever speaking abilities, an introvert will speak differently, an extrovert will speak differently. You have to create platforms for all of them. And today, as Rishabh said, that Indu Shani madam made him stand in class, though he was a naughty one. And you know, this is what HR believes in. We don't punish naughty ones, we encourage naughty ones. And today, when we see Rishabh doing MUN events, talking to great celebrities and great industry experts, I believe we feel proud that yes, once we made him stand in the class and give a lecture in a class, in the same class, and the girl liked him. I think this is what he has given me a lesson, that how do I now tackle the naughty ones. So thank you, Rishabh. And so once I would suggest as PSDS, have more of your interactive events among your core club members. Give a chance to one person to come and speak. Don't criticize, appreciate. Even that one appreciation, that, you know, the way Rishabh was looking at the chat box and was feeling motivated with what you all have been sending him. I think the same thing you all have to learn from Rishabh and do it for each other. And I would request Rishabh, you know, you interact with so many great personalities on a regular basis. Do invite Public Speaking and Debating Society on a regular basis so that our students also learn and speak to them. So this is something that I'm requesting Rishabh to get connected us to the great speakers in industry who speak well. Give them those contacts who can come in and speak to them. So that would be an alumni contribution from Rishabh, and he has already promised me that he will get great speakers. He is into touch with many of them. So Rishabh would be glad if you connect some of them to us.
I'm in touch with them. They are not in touch with me. That's the problem. So, no, but I would be delighted. Yes. I would be delighted, Dr. Ramchandani, to be able to contribute in any way. I will most definitely do this. And may I then just, you know, as a small thank you gesture before somebody gives a vote of thanks, on the 21st of October next month, actually, we are hosting somebody whom I greatly revere and admire for both his proficiency in English and also his communication. I think he's one of the most prolific public speakers in the world today, right from Oxford Students' Union all the way to the United Nations. And even in India, if somebody says his name, they will, when you take his name, it's taken with a lot of awe. His personal life and political life aside, I think when it comes to international relations and public speaking, he's one of the best in the country. I'd be the happiest and most delighted to invite all students who are here to a session with Dr. Shashi Tharoor, where he will be engaging with us on the 21st of October. So I will send across more details to Vanshika, and that's the small little something that we can start with, ma'am, with your permission. And even otherwise,
yes.
Go ahead. Even otherwise, continue to do that.
Yes. In fact, I would give a job to PSDS today. There is a language lab in our library. Yes. And there are different CDs which are available in our library, which are orators, great leader orators. So I would suggest now Vanshika and the PSDS team
Yes.
to use them and start that language laboratory or lab in college once we open up.
Surely,
Sure.
ma'am, surely.
Yes, yes.
We're looking forward to it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Over to you, dear.
Yeah. I think the manner in which Pooja ma'am described the webinar has already made me fall short of words. But in any case, I will add a small bit from my side. So the manner in which you shared personal anecdotes and then related them to actual real life lessons was just amazing. We don't get such amazing speakers this often. So thank you for that, sir. I would also like to thank Mr. Akhilesh, who's a part of sir's team, for helping us in this collaboration come through smoothly. Obviously, special thanks to our principal in charge, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani ma'am, for her unending support, blessings, and permissions, and everything in between. I would also like to extend a vote of thanks to our faculty in charge, Mrs. Geeta Sahu ma'am, for guiding us and being a constant source of inspiration. Now, guys, let us also take a moment to appreciate the efforts put in by the core team of the Public Speaking and Debating Society for working so hard and pulling off this event. Really good job, guys. And last, but definitely not the least, I would like to wholeheartedly thank each and every one of the participants who attended this webinar. For a good and interactive audience, such as you were, are integral to the success of any event. Once again, thank you all for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in our future events as well.
Thank you for having me.
And before I forget, just one thing. For the attendees, we've put a link, a feedback form in the chat, so you guys can go ahead and fill this. It is only after you fill this that you'll get the certificates for this webinar. Yes, please.
Thank you for having me, and thank you once again, Mrs. Geeta Sahu, Dr. Ramchandani. Thank you so much for making me feel special by calling me back to college. I hope I get this opportunity once again, and you're not already too tired of me. And thank you, Vanshika. Thank you, Ayan, and thank you all of you who have been listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rishabh.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, dear Rishabh. Thank you, PSDS. Well done, well done. Thank you, Geeta. Well done, kids. Well done.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well done, PSDS.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And to
Thank
everyone who's tuning in, please make sure you fill the feedback form. A reminder, these details will go on the certificate and the form will not be shared on WhatsApp. So please take this opportunity to fill the form. It's been sent in the chat box by our PSDS team. And thank you once again for attending. Stay tuned. PSDS will be back with further enriching events and sessions like this.
Vanshika, please.